Good morning. This is Ain't Nobody Squeaky Clean. And as always, I appreciate you for joining the podcast. Today, I'm just going to go ahead and get right at it. So, there are times in life when being a parent is difficult. I'm not saying it's easy other times, but sometimes it's a little more challenging than others. And this episode is for every parent who's ever sat in a parking lot after tryouts, watched their child's heart break, and felt completely helpless. My daughter's a junior in high school. She loves volleyball. In fact, she was a pretty solid softball player and decided to step aside from that to focus on volleyball because it was her passion. She played both freshman and sophomore years. She's gone to all the trainings. She attended open gyms. We all invested in a sleepaway camp so that she could get additional training and also demonstrate her level of commitment to all the coaches. She's always been very coachable. She put in the work. She's extremely athletic. She crossed every T and dotted every I that she could. Now, it's been very apparent that I've been having financial challenges due to lack of employment over the last 2 out of the last 3 years. So the only thing we really couldn't do was throw her in weekly training. And that's something that I've got to come to grips with. Because last night she ended up getting cut. Clearly, this decision was not because of attitude, not because she quit, and not because she was late. None of that stuff. The only explanation that she received was, we just don't have a roster spot for you. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. So, if you're a parent, you know those words hit differently. Because when your child has done everything they were supposed to, you're left wondering, what else could she have done? One of the hardest one of the hardest lessons in life, excuse me. Little, it's a tough topic here. I'm getting my words a little mixed up. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that effort doesn't always guarantee the outcome. It's not just true in sports, it's true in life. I know this. I've been the best employee and still get laid off. You could study for weeks and still fail an exam. You could interview 15 times and still not get the job. So, the good thing for my daughter is she has a father who has experience in things not going his way. The lesson isn't that effort doesn't matter. The lesson is that effort gives you the best chance, but it never guarantees the result. And that's a painful lesson to learn at 16 or 17 years old. And it's still painful for me in my later years. As parents, we want to fix it. When your child hurts, you hurt. You want to call the coach. You want to argue. You want to point out all the camps, the practices, the sacrifices. You want someone to explain why. And I went through all of this last night. And in fact, sometimes asking for constructive feedback is completely appropriate. Not to challenge the decision, not to demand a spot, but to understand what can be improved and to further demonstrate that this is just a bump in the road. My daughter has another year coming up, and we plan to go hard to get ready for that. But in order to do that, we need direct feedback. I've always said all work isn't good work. If you go out here thinking, okay, well, maybe it was my conditioning. So you go out here and you get in the best condition and the best shape possible, and then come to find out, nah, that's not it. We needed you to be 3 inches taller. Well, we can't work on that. So then you need to pivot. So that's why it's important to get the constructive feedback if it's real and honest. So we'll have to stay tuned on that because I haven't heard anything constructive yet as of the time of this podcast. But I anticipate that I will, so that we can maneuver appropriately and prepare accordingly for the following year. We didn't have a roster spot doesn't help anyone get better. Constructive coaching does. And from a coaching standpoint, if coaches aren't constructive, then that's not a place that you want your child to be anyway. It's very important on the coach's end that you provide the feedback that is real and honest. If the kid doesn't have a chance to make it no matter what they do, then you need to convey that. Because these kids are resilient and they can pivot to something else. As I mentioned, my daughter's an athlete. She could have played a number of sports. Flag football, for example, is something new that these girls have. She could have easily played that and probably been quarterback or whatever position she wanted to be. But unfortunately, at least in our county, all of the tryouts are at the same time. So if you don't make the team that you try out for, you're just stuck. And that's a shame. They should stagger tryouts so that if you don't make it, you have an opportunity to try out for a different team. Now, I'm not saying that kids should try out for 5 teams, get 5 offers, and then sit back with sunglasses on to determine which one they should take. But in situations like this, when you're devastated because you didn't make a team, you shouldn't be penalized and have to sit out the entire quarter, because sports are very important. They give kids a sense of purpose. And the last thing you want is any child out here with a lack of purpose with everything that's going on in this world right now. We don't need any negative distractions. We need positive environments. Here's something that every athlete needs to hear. One coach's opinion is exactly that. One opinion. Every year we watch professional athletes get cut from one team, only to become stars somewhere else. The great Michael Jordan was famously cut from his varsity team as a sophomore. There are countless college athletes who were overlooked before eventually earning scholarships. There are NFL players drafted in the 6th or 7th round who become Hall of Famers. Being cut isn't always a statement about your potential. Sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it's numbers. Sometimes another player simply fits what that coach wanted that season. That doesn't mean your child is not talented. But let's also be honest. In the political landscape that we're in right now, there could be other factors at play that we're just not privy to. And that is why constructive, honest feedback can squash a lot of that. So, again, coaches, I implore you to make sure that you provide that feedback when asked. Because your response is going to determine what that kid's next move is. I don't think many coaches realize the amount of power that they hold in their hands. You know, they show up, they're happy to coach a team of X amount of players, and, you know, most coaches are in it to try to win championships. You obviously want to develop talent, you want to be around the children, you want to foster an environment that's safe and fun, but ultimately, you want to win. And the kids that try out for your program want to help you win. They want to be a part of it. The ones that care. And my kids, if they're a part of something, they care. They're dedicated. They're focused. They're committed. Adversity has a funny way of introducing us to ourselves. What happens now matters more than what happened yesterday. Do you quit? Do you become bitter? Or do you become better? Those are the crossroads every athlete eventually faces. Excuse me. Those are the crossroads every athlete eventually faces. The easy response is to walk away. The harder response, the one that builds resilience, is to ask, what do I need to improve on in order to be in one of these jerseys next year? Not because someone owes you another chance, because excellence is its own reward. This may be the most important part of today's episode. Be careful not to project your disappointment onto your child. Sometimes we're more upset than they are. Our pride gets involved. Our expectations get involved. Our dreams get involved. Your child doesn't need another person telling them how unfair life is. They need someone reminding them that one moment doesn't define them. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give our children isn't fixing the situation, it's teaching them how to survive it. I've told my daughter something that I hope she remembers long after volleyball ends. I'm proud of you because of the work you put in, not because of whether your name was on the roster. Anyone can celebrate when they make a team. Character is revealed when they don't. This hurts. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to cry. It's okay to take a few days to process it. But don't confuse rejection with your worth. You are far more than one coach's decision. It's funny because I carefully script a lot of these podcasts because I want to make sure that I say everything that I'm thinking. Because those of you that know me personally know my mind is always moving, especially in the season that I'm in right now. But yesterday when I dropped my daughter off for practice, for what was going to be the last practice, which we didn't know that, but I knew it was a possibility because when you're dealing with coaches and teams, anything is possible when you're not the decision maker. And anybody that's grown up in the DMV knows that every single team There's always someone getting cut that raises an eyebrow. So you expect pretty much anything. But as I dropped her off, I told her, no matter what happens, you did everything in your power to position yourself with the best opportunity possible to make this team. So you can hold your head high regardless of what happens. Whether you make it, whether they divert you to JV to get ready for next year, or whether they say they don't have a spot for you. So even though I know this is devastating, she was prepared. And I supported her. And the last thing I told her was, whatever happens when you go through those doors, when you come home, you know you're in a house full of love. And that love is not dependent upon you wearing that jersey. We've got you 1,000%, always. And I thank God for putting me in position to be her father in moments like this, just like every other moment. Because I'm strong enough to stand for both of us when she can't stand, and vice versa. She has me. And that is what it's all about. The final thoughts. Life is going to hand us all moments where we did everything right and still didn't get the outcome that we wanted or desired. Those moments don't mean we failed. Sometimes they simply mean life has another chapter waiting. To every parent that's listening, love your kids through the disappointment. Ask for feedback so that you can move accordingly. Help them improve. But most importantly, remind them that their value was never tied to making a roster. Because someday, whatever sport it is, it will end. Volleyball, basketball, football, all of it is going to end. But resilience lasts a lifetime. Thank you for listening to Ain't Nobody Squeaky Clean today. And if today's episode encouraged you, share it with another parent who's watching or walking through the same thing. And remember, sometimes the greatest victories aren't the teams we make. They're the people we become after we don't. Parents, it's not easy to watch your kid be disappointed. It's one of the hardest things in life because there's nothing you can do. All you can do is hug them, support them, and help them process what's happened. But more importantly, be there for them. Give them the space they need. Give them the support they need. This doesn't come with a handbook, and I've said that many times. Being a parent is one of the best and the toughest things that we will ever do. But you're built for it because Lord knows we've been through enough disappointment. And we made it to the other side because we're still here. You're still listening to this podcast. So that means you were given another chance. And you're still pushing through. Keep your head up. And parents, if you're going through something similar, feel free to reach out. We can learn together and grow together. and come up with strategies so that our child will not feel this next time. Or if they do feel it next time, we at least know we have the cliff notes on how to deal with it. So I appreciate you all for listening. And this was a special episode, and we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep moving forward, onward and upward, on to the next challenge. But as always, this is Ain't Nobody Squeaky Clean. And until next time, I hope you have a blessed day and a blessed week. And for those of you whose kids have made the teams, go out there and cheer until your voice is gone. Show them the support that they need in order to keep moving forward, and let them know how privileged they are, because it doesn't always turn out that way. So be thankful that you're a part of something, because it is an exclusive number of people, an exclusive club to be in. And remember, there are those of us on the sidelines that would love to be there cheering right next to you. Have a blessed day and a blessed week, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.